Okay, this video is just going to provide a little bit of a discussion or illustration of how you can work with SPSS output files. Keep in mind that what we have right here is an open SAV file, and basically the SAV file contains your variables and the data on your variables in SPSS. So you can see right here we've got our three variables: gender, self-esteem, and achievement, with values on those variables for 11 cases. If you go under variable view, you get information about the values themselves, measurement characteristics, and so forth. So what I want to do is I'll start off by just carrying out a couple of analyses to illustrate working with the outputs. So first of all, I'm going to just run an independent samples t-test looking at the relationship between gender and academic achievement. So gender, this variable is nominal. It's coded 1 for male, 2 for female. And so I'm just going to quickly run the analysis. We're less concerned with the actual how-tos of running the analysis here than just illustrating how to work with outputs. So I'm going to click on OK, and you can see that we've generated an output file for this particular t-test. If I wanted to run another analysis, I could also do that as well. I can just say, well, I'm going to look at the correlation between self-esteem and achievement, and there it is. You'll notice in the output there's a setting where you can actually generate the syntax for your analyses, which kind of gives you some information about what you've done. Now, if I want to save this particular output file, I can do this just by going to File, Save As. The actual data set is actually listed in here. You'll see basically the SAV file happens to be in this particular file system. But so I've clicked on Save Output As, and so I can actually rename the default output name that's given. So I'm just going to call this output from January 10th analyses or something like that. And so then click on Save, and so now you'll find in the output, if you go under Output, you'll find that particular output file, and it's an SPV file. So again, keep in mind that basically the data set containing the variables and values on your variables, that's an SAV file. The output file is actually referred to as basically has the extension SPV. So I've saved what I've just done. So if I wanted to call this up in the future, I could open up SPSS, go to Outputs, and click on this particular button, and there you go. Now, if I want to, let's say I wanted to change some of the headings or provide some descriptive information in here, what I can do is I could, you'll see if anywhere where I have like a chart or any kind of text, you can actually double click and make certain types of changes. So for instance, let's say I want to just delete this for example. I could just highlight this, press delete, and I can get rid of that information. I could do the same here if I wanted to do that. If I double click here, if I want to give a more descriptive name, I could say t-test involving comparison between males and females on achievement, and then I could actually provide any kind of additional notes and so forth. So basically, if you just double click on where you have the arrows, then you can do that. By the same token, I could, if I want to put some notes underneath certain outputs or whatever, I could go up to highlight this and then go to Insert, and then I could say New Text, and voila, there you go. We have a text box where I can type in text here. So basically, you can add text to the your SPSS output file. So if you wanted to change titles or add in descriptions and so forth related to your analyses, that's basically how you can do that. And I can, save that, and it's just I've now saved over the previous file. So now, let's say I want to export this to Word. I can actually go to Export, and you have various options that you could theoretically ask for. And I'm not going to go too far into that, but just letting you know that's there. But now you've got document types. You've got Word, RTF document. You've got text documents, web reports, HTML, and so forth. You even have PowerPoint right here. I'm going to save this as a Word document, and down here it gives you a default name, and so I can actually change that default name. It just defaults with the name output. So I'm just going to call this January 9th output, and so then when I click on OK, it's now exporting this information to into a Word file. So here I've gone back under to find that particular document, and here it is. Oh, excuse me. Here's the name, January 9th output, and so I'll just click on that, and there you go. And so I've got all that information in a Word document. So at any rate, those are some ways that you can work with SPSS outputs. Again, the aim was to show you how to save an output file, how you can make notes within your output file, and also how you can export your output file into other file formats.